Hello again, my name is Jason, and I'm going to be talking about A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Guin. Written several years ago. Unfortunately, the author, the author recently passed away, January of last year. So anyway, back to the book. So, A Wizard of Earthsea. The Earthsea part is kind of self-explanatory. It kind of is very descriptive, almost simplistically so. The setting of the world is basically, it's a giant ocean, and everything happens on Earthsea, which is a conglomeration of islands. Some islands are close, some islands are far, but basically it's all islands. So it starts on an island called Guin with a young boy. They call him Sparrowhawk. This particular world has the concept of a true name is very important. And so even though Sparrowhawk does have a name, nobody calls him that. Because if you know something's true name, you have power over it. Anyway, Sparrowhawk, growing up on this island, shows some magical ability, and his aunt teaches him a little bit of magic. Well, his village is attacked by raiders, and he is able to magically summon a fog that allows them to drive off the invaders. And because of that, he gets apprenticed to a mage, who then gives him his true name, and he goes. So his true name is Ged, but everyone calls him Sparrowhawk because of that, the true name thing. So his teacher teaches him responsibility in using magic. Magic is not just something to be used; it's a responsibility. Because magic can upset the balance of nature and things, and so you have to be careful using magic, otherwise you're going to upset that balance. And so, being a young man, he gets in trouble with a girl. He's trying to impress her, and so he not in trouble with a girl, in trouble because of a girl. He's trying to impress her, and so he uses a spell that he's not familiar with and not ready to use, and it releases a shadow. And it's banished by his master, but he realizes that Ged needs more training, more discipline than he can give him. And so he sends him to the island of Roke. The island of Roke has a school for wizards. So Ged again goes there, and Ged is a very powerful, very talented young wizard, and he's kind of stuck up, kind of not really getting along with his with the other students. I mean, he does have some students that he befriends. There's one called Vetch that he befriends, but for the most part, he stays apart. And so when another wizard at the school starts provoking him, he agrees to, or he challenges this mage to a duel. And what he does is he tries to use a spell that's supposed to call back a woman from the dead. And instead, a shadow creature shows up. Ged's powers are taken away from him by the shadow creature. The archmage is able to banish the creature, but he dies in the process. And Ged then must heal from the encounter, and at the same time relearn everything he's learned, so that he can have his powers back again. There's definitely, at this point, he takes a look and he realizes that he needs to be a better person, not so quick to anger, and more in control of who he is. The other thing that happens is this shadow creature was just banished. It was not destroyed. It was not sent back to where it came from. It was just driven away, I should say. So Ged at that point has this dual task of learning his magic again, but also there's no one in creation that can get rid of this thing except for him, because he's the one that brought it into being, but nobody knows how to get rid of it. They're entirely sure that this thing has no true name, and because it has no true name, there's no way to control it or destroy it. So he has these dual causes that he has to go through. Once again, beyond that, Ged becomes a wizard in this community of islands, and kind of is assigned to go to this island and to be their wizard. And so it also shows the tasks that he's got to accomplish to protect this island, to be their wizard, that kind of thing. So it's got a lot of dynamics going on between community and the island, the balance between magic and nature, and good and evil, light and darkness, all these things. Very good book, very interesting in the concept of how how the world works. Basically, there's no large land masses. They're all small islands, and you have to go back and forth between these islands frequently. Ged has a boat that he uses quite often to get him from place to place, and he invests a lot of energy and magic into this boat in order to both protect himself and to get him to where he needs to be. So it's very much a journey of Ged from when he's young to when he's grown up, and how he grows at each stage along this journey from childhood to adulthood. I quite liked this book. I quite liked the series. It was a very good series. I love dragons, and dragons make up a part of the story. And in the overall, both in this book and in the overall series, dragons come back into it again and again. So there is one thing that I'm saving to the end, and I find it quite interesting. So when I read this series, I must have missed something, because the Sci-Fi Channel came out a while back, and they had made a miniseries based on a Wizard of Earthsea. Apparently, the author was not happy with their adaptation, because she said they whitewashed her characters. Now, Ursula K. Guin, born in California, if I remember right. Let's see. Berkeley, California. Born in California, white as all get out. White as all get out. But her characters are not. They are dark-skinned. And so one of the things that I commend her for is that she wrote these books in such a way that I didn't pick up on that. It wasn't a central issue to her book. Her book was an amazing adventure, amazing growth, where race did not matter. And so when she comes out and she says, "Hey, you whitewashed my characters," I thought, really? They did? I didn't even notice race as an issue in this thing. So, way to go, her. That race was involved in the book, but it wasn't important. It wasn't a central point. Ged was just Ged. He was just the wizard that was the hero of the book. It was awesome. And it was, like I said, it wasn't something I even picked up on. Now, granted, it was several years ago, and maybe if I go back and read it now that I know it's there, I may pick up on it. There is a certain amount of animosity between the two races of humans. There's the race, Ged's race, I forget what they're called. The Kargish are the other ones, and I only remembered that because I was looking at something online earlier. But there is a certain amount of animosity between those two people, but it never seemed to be the color of the person's skin was ever important. Anyway, which I think, because of the way the Sci-Fi Channel adapted it, obviously they used white actors, and so they did whitewash. But at the same time, it was not an issue at all in the book, and because of that, it was easy to... I can see why they did it, because it wasn't a problem. It was never an issue that was brought up. But it would be different if it was something like Black Panther, the Marvel movie that recently came out. If they decided that Black Panther was going to be a white African, it just would not have worked. Because race is central to the Black Panther character and his pride as a prince of an African nation and as a native African, not just a transplant from Europe who grew up in Africa. Whereas the Wizard of Earthsea, yes, like I said, there's a certain animosity between the factions, between the races, but it wasn't based on the color of the person's skin. So, way to go, her. Way to go. It was a really good story. I liked the way she did it. And it just points out that it's not an important issue. It just really isn't. You can be whatever you want to be. So, if I got that wrong, please give me your views on it. I like to hear them. If you like my reviews, please let me know. Comment down below. Also, like and subscribe. Put on the notifications so you can get notified when a new one comes out. And until next time, enjoy what you're reading.